Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Scope. And now, here are your hosts, Jared, Adam, and Shane.
Hey out there in Scopeland, Shane here, bringing you along with Adam and Jared.
Hi.
We're going on a ride into the Scope universe, our 177th ride into the Scope universe.
The Scopiverse.
Would you say it's a fantastic voyage?
It just might be. It's a very exciting show, guys. The week that the show comes out, I am turning a very old age of 40. Jared's been waiting for this for 1 year.
I'm waiting to welcome you to the club.
It's a
Show
disgusting...
you the handshake. You'll get a special embossed invitation in the mail very shortly.
Am I fully clothed when you show me this handshake?
Yes.
Good.
You guys, by the way,
You're never naked again after age 40.
Thank God.
You know that, right?
Thank God.
Did nobody tell you?
now you guys are.
You'll get your cut off jeans.
Ooh,
You'll
really?
Wear those in the shower.
I love it.
You'll be a never nude from now on.
It has to be that way.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get wrinkly and old.
Adam's dying to tell a joke.
Go ahead,
Adam.
No.
Adam hasn't had much to say the last 2 hours.
I was just gonna say you're now a drain on every service
it's
provided
true.
by this country.
Oh my
so
God,
you
it's-
should just do the right thing.
And
Find a death panel.
Hey,
probably,
whatever you wanna do.
I would say the best thing to do is to buy more consumer goods.
Okay.
That's how you get yourself out of every problem.
Hey, 9/11 happened. George W. Bush said, "Go buy stuff." So
Go
Done.
shopping.
I guess we know.
Problem
Done
solved.
deal. Done deal. So guess what, guys? In honor of my 40th birthday, I thought we would look back to the summer of 1984. Actually, I think we're going to do that a few times this year. This time around, we're going to look back at the music of 84, which is 30 years ago. This is the time when...
Did music exist in 1984?
It did, in fact.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Usually they just hit different sized rocks together to
What
get
about
different
color
tones.
TVs? Did color TVs exist at that point?
They
Color
did.
TVs, although there wasn't a lot of summer programming in 84, was there?
In terms
A lot of repeats and stuff, wasn't there?
Of course, yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. I was outside playing in the dirt.
Here's the thing, Adam. Here's the thing. There were color TVs, but there were still a lot of people with black and white TVs. I think in 84, I may have had a black and white TV in my room.
With this thing
Of
on
course,
it? I don't
of
know
course.
what that's called, but
And my TV, it was
Called
like
a knob?
It was
Channel
probably like a
a knob is another word for dick.
Yes. Yes,
my
it is.
TV probably was like 9
So
inches.
your
and
TV
it,
had a dick.
and it had a big white back that was plastic.
Wait, so the thing with the knob was 9 inches? And
No,
it
the
had a
TV,
big
the
white
screen, the screen was. Come on now. Okay.
Did you ever have to like get up there with a rag and like polish that? What do you call it?
Knob?
Knob polish.
You have to polish that, make it
Polish
shiny.
that knob? Yes. So
Thank you for taking my setup.
What age are you going to be?
I was 10 years old at that time.
What age are you going to be this
39.
30. I'm gonna be 30 years old.
That's
I'm
the
going
other
back
thing
10
is you're
years.
always 39 now.
I'm never changing. We can't wait to get to your 39th birthday, Adam.
Knob jokes will still be funny
Of
then
course they
too,
will.
right?
Of course
Shane,
they will.
if you had been aged in a new oak barrel all this time, you would be coming out with quite the flavor profile.
I would be.
Yeah.
I'd be-
Mila
But you're,
Kunis-
but you're a human, so
Right.
yeah, I'd be dead if that were the case.
But Mila
I'd be
Kunis would
disgusting.
have branded you.
That's
It
true.
would have said Mila on you.
This is so true, Adam. So true.
It'd look a lot like my tramp stamp, which does say Mila on it.
good to know. Good to know.
I'm just going to say that might be an unfortunate tramp stamp. I'm just
Why?
saying. Because I'm saying
Right.
that. Anyway, so we're looking at the music of 1984.
Yeah,
and
She was
we're-
banging Macaulay Culkin. I have a chance.
what does Mandy think of that?
Oh,
Would she let you go for her?
No. What do you mean let?
It's Mila. Go ahead.
No.
I know your dreams of
She's
Mila.
on your list. Go ahead.
That's a good woman right there. So we're looking back at 84. The music of
The Kutch spoiled her for
The
everyone.
Kutch. I'm really struggling to get this intro out, guys. You're killing me here. We've got a special guest sitting in for this. He's been on our show before. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but the guy knows what he's talking about, so it should be very, very fun.
You're not going to tell him.
No,
Okay.
because it's a tease, Jared.
God,
It's a tease.
I know. You're tickling the balls of the audience.
I'm tickling the balls. Yeah, and he at the end of
They're
the
polishing their channel changer.
at the end of the segment, Jared, he will tell us
Yes.
was 1984 worthy, especially the summer of 1984.
Well,
was
he
it
might
worthy?
tell us that in part 2.
Yeah, next week.
Oh, well, if it runs long, it might be in part 2.
You act like it hasn't happened.
You act like it has happened.
I can see the future.
I'm very confused
I
right
feel
now.
like it's going to run long. I
I'm
just do.
very confused right
I feel
now.
like it's going to run long.
Okay, so
yes, that was a penis joke.
let's cut this off right now. Let's cut this off at the chase. So we've got the summer of '84 music coming. We've got Under the Scope coming soon. We've got listener feedback. We've got it all.
We do.
We
actually have listener feedback.
I'm very excited about that. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of Scope episode 177 right after this.
Attention fans of funny music. The first ever comedy music convention is here with performances by Carrie Dolby, Devo Spice, Garden Fresh, The Great Luke Ski, Tony Goldmark, Matt Griffo, Dan Hart, Insane Ian, Phil Johnson, Possible Oscar, Power Salad, Raymond and Scum, Sea Monkey, Tom Smith, and Worm Quartet. And presenting this year's special guest of honor, legendary radio personality Dr. Demento. Funk Fest is taking place June 20th through 22nd at the Westin North Shore in Wheeling, Illinois, just outside Chicago. Tickets for the weekend are just $35 until March 31st. Join us for live concerts, panels, Dr. Demento's Festival of Dementia, Demented Karaoke and Q&A
Boogie
with
Monster Gerber,
and the 4th Annual Logan Whitehurst Memorial Awards for Excellence in Comedy Music, hosted by Dr. Demento.
Hi, this is Dr. Demento. Come join me and my friends from the Fump at Fump Fest this June in Chicagoland.
Visit fumpfest.com to register for the event and reserve your hotel now. That's FUMPFEST.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Scope. This summer at The Scope, we're going to take a look back 30 years at what some say, I don't know who those people are, but some say this the most influential year of pop culture, 1984. Between the movies, music, cartoons, and toys, much of what came out of that year still resonates with the adults that lived through it as kids.
I like the fact that we're capturing you reading your script on camera.
Well, I can't see. Normally we've got the TV screen over there.
Nope.
That's probably for the best.
That wasn't just an impromptu feeling about 1984?
No.
All right.
I was up late last night crafting this perfect text.
I like mere seconds into the broadcast, I'm already tearing it apart. It's my job.
So our first part of the 84 retrospective, which, Jared, you didn't know I was going to do this.
Oh.
I'm actually creating a bit for the summer. This retrospective piece is aimed at the music of 1984, and more specifically, the summer, since that's where we're at right now. To help us answer this the question, how influential was the music of 1984? I've assembled the best panel in the business.
Oh.
Let's meet them. First, this gentleman, after digging deep into a summer music of 84 Spotify playlist, told me he wanted to thank me for reminding him how bad the 80s music was. Of course, we're talking about the Scope's own Adam.
Hello.
P.S. Adam was born in 1980, so of course he's qualified. He's the qualified expert to talk about this topic.
Yes.
Adam, what do you expect to get out of this?
I expect to call my mom and ask her why her Def Leppard collection gets so much play still to this day.
It's a good question. Our next panelist grew up without cable, and he probably thinks that Kennedy was an original MTV VJ. He also loves old school hip hop, which really wasn't even that much of a thing in 1984. You know him, you love him. Give a big round of applause for Jared.
Hello. Hello.
There he is.
Yeah, hip hop was just getting a toehold in 1984. So,
But in all seriousness, Jared does know his music, so he should be.
I'm sorry I interrupted your script there.
Thank you. I impromptu of that. Finally, our last panelist may be the only one that really matters today. This guy is a creator and host of Crap from the Past, a long-running radio program that is the definitive source of pop music history. Sorry, Ron. He's also written a book called Greatest Hits, Volume 1, The Off-Air Life of one of community radio's most enduring on-air personalities. Boy, that's really bad that I stumbled all over that.
It's just a subtitle. It's okay.
Thank you
Greatest
very
Hits
much.
Volume 1 will do just fine.
So this book detailed his life over the past 18 years, both personal and radio show anecdotes, really. He's been a guest on our show before, and we couldn't be more enthused to get him back here today. Of course, we're talking about Ron Boogie Monster Gerber.
Ron Boogie Monster Gerber.
That makes me so happy.
Thank you, Ron, for being here. You've traveled many miles through monsoon weather.
Several miles to be here. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. So before we get into 1984, let's talk about the year that happened before that, 1983, which I've sort of looking.
Wait, did you look that up? Have you verified that 83 came first?
It's on my script, so
Okay.
it has to be.
Got it.
It has to be right.
Got it.
So help me out here, Ron. Pop music sort of started coming to a head I would say with the rise of MTV and with Michael Jackson, which was sort of this symbiotic relationship, which I don't even know what month of '83 Thriller came out, but
Thriller came out in '82.
was it so late '82?
Yeah, like the October timeframe, and the singles built and built and built all the way through '84.
Really?
Through the early part of '84, and by the time summer rolled around, it died down. But 1983 belonged to Michael Jackson.
It absolutely did. And the first single off of Thriller was
"The Girl Is Mine."
"The Girl Is Mine."
Dreadful. So if we ignore that,
Yeah. So why
That was the first single?
I would have never known that. So you know
Quincy
everything.
Jones was crazy.
Why did Quincy Jones say this has to be our single?
I think the goal was to let sort of the industry know that something new's coming out. Pay attention in a couple months when this dies down.
Gotcha.
So there was, it was a hit. It turned out to be a hit. It got a lot of airplay, but I don't think radio insiders and music insiders took it seriously. They just said, "Oh, Michael wants to record stuff with Paul. It ain't so good, but we have to do something with it. Let's make some money with it."
Sure.
And sort of, it was the preface, sort of the prologue that nobody's going to remember until Billie Jean got its proper introduction. And as a result, anticipation was really high when Billie Jean came out.
Sure. So,
Huge.
So Jared, why don't you just give us a little taste of this unheard of song called Billie Jean?
I gotta look it up. Where is it? I had it all in order.
Oh boy. Yes.
You can vamp for a bit.
Hey guys. So did they do a video for "The Girl Is Mine"?
It's a good question.
And then we
That's
find it.
Billie Jean.
Yeah. I don't even think I have "The Girl Is Mine" on the playlist, but
You don't want
we
that.
don't need it. Yeah.
That's 1983, Shane. We're past that.
It's 1982,
Except for this
technically.
song,
two,
which is
whatever.
also
Yep.
83.
But this is the hits of 84.
This is the
I don't
hits
know
of-
what the show
This
is.
is very
You might as well
confusing. The
turn
hits of '84.
Turn it off now.
Okay, yeah. So the interesting thing about Billie Jean was, in terms of giving it mass exposure on MTV, there was a huge struggle for, was it CBS Records, to get MTV to play any Michael Jackson.
It wasn't just Michael Jackson; it was black artists.
Yeah, I mean,
and that was a big issue. MTV at that point was about 2 years old.
Yep.
It started on the air in '81, the summer of '81, and by '83 it was white artists.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of British weird white artists, which is great for British new wave, but very difficult for artists here in the U.S. Like the Rick Jameses
Yeah.
and the Princes and the Michael Jacksons.
Well,
of the world.
they did play a little Prince. Prince had a couple cuts off of 1999 that got played.
little.
Donna Summer, but beyond that,
She works hard for the money.
Works hard for the money, but beyond that,
It was
very, very limited.
Yeah, and R&B, soul, whatever you want to call it at the time, didn't have a presence on MTV.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, well, it was a pop album, but he was a black artist and had black cred.
Yes.
And not to drag race too much into this, but he really opened the floodgates for all the black artists that followed in the 80s.
Now, I always thought that the stuff that the kind of British new wave that played on MTV was because those were the artists that were making videos at the time. Is that true, or was there actually really?
Was there a stereo, like a racial bias?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was intentional or not. I was only 15 at the time, so I don't know. I just know the product of to what was coming over the airwaves, and it was a bunch of white guys and women from the U.S. and from Europe.
Okay.
For what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, and part of it also, getting back to what Jared was saying, I mean, I would say pre-'83, not everybody was making music videos. It was a newer art form. So a lot of times it just happened to be, Duran Duran was making videos, but this other artist wasn't. So that's what MTV played early. But by '83, you had Michael Jackson. I mean, the Police were huge that year. So you had a lot of mainstream artists, Culture Club, or at least mainstream at the time, that were breaking. But like Ron said, you have this weird racial thing going on MTV where, when I was doing research, they talked about they being the managers and the big shots, the executives at MTV said, the type of music we play is AOR. So it's album-oriented rock, which is, big rock and roll bands, essentially. And they just said guys like Michael Jackson weren't a part of our playlist. Now, you go back to CBS Records and Michael Jackson's people, and they would say, that's not what we think. We think that there's maybe a racial component to that. And to get Billie Jean on the air, what Michael Jackson's people had to do, the CBS Record guys, they just said, we're pulling all of our videos from MTV until you play Michael Jackson. But and for the record, they also lumped in a Barbra Streisand song as well. So she also got play on MTV in 1983, believe it or not. So, yeah, isn't that crazy?
I hadn't heard that.
Got to read those books, Ron. I'm telling you.
I like that.
But once Michael Jackson broke big on MTV, I don't know what the radio charts are doing, but I don't even think they played Billie Jean right away. It was a few weeks or months after the single was released, and he was blowing up big on radio, but way before he was blowing up on MTV, right?
Yeah, and I can believe that. Radio was all over it. They thought, oh my God, I've never heard anything like this, as did the 15-year-old in me.
Yeah.
Which ended actually the rest of America. And MTV was probably slow to add it. And once they did, there was no turning back.
Yeah, then it changed everything. Michael Jackson and any sort of music that might not have been played on MTV was now fair game, and then it opened up the floodgates, which sort of flows into 84.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting to hear MTV describe themselves as AOR, the album-oriented rock stuff, because by 83, 84, AOR was disappearing. That was like the 38 specials of the world and the Lynyrd Skynyrd's, and that's all well and good, but it had been replaced in coolness by the British New Wave stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of cool British New Wave stuff, 83, 84.
One thing before we actually get into 84 specifically that I found interesting when I was doing my research was a lot of the songs that broke big on MTV in 82 and even into 83 weren't necessarily pop chart hits. So you'd get early Duran Duran that, Girls on Film and Planet Earth, which were huge on MTV, but MTV was so regional because it was not carried in every cable market that they could be huge in Ohio, but they would be unknown in New York City because even New York City didn't have MTV right away. It was a year or two into their run before, if you're living in NYC, you could even get it. I think if you lived in Jersey, you could get it, but it wasn't there.
I know early on, 81, 82, they were struggling for content. They just didn't have enough videos to go around because people didn't make them.
That's why you'd have 3 Pat Benatar videos playing in the first 50.
You know that. That's good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Welcome to the History of MTV Hour.
There we go.
That's nice.
Coming up after the break, we talk about 1980, the era before MTV.
We're going to talk all about VH1 and how Rosie O'Donnell broke big on VH1.
And which Julie Brown is the better Julie Brown?
Downtown, of course. No, that's not true. So anyway, Michael Jackson has a great year in 83. He starts to sort of seep into 84, but really things changed, right?
Tangentially, he was still present, omnipresent
Yeah.
in 84. He did Say, another song with Paul McCartney. The Jacksons put out the horrible, what was the name of that album? Victory? The one with State of Shock.
Yeah. Jared, do you like that song?
No, I hate it.
It's not so good.
He's looking for it right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Adam, this is one of your favorite songs.
I've moved to the top of this playlist.
Deeply unenjoyable on so many levels.
This is why I had an IM conversation with Shane briefly about this, and I said, this is terrible. This is a garbage song. How was this popular? It's purely Michael Jackson, right?
I honestly don't know how this was popular.
Ron, which is better, this song or Rockwell, Somebody's Always
Watching Me?
I was about to mention
Somebody's Watching Me is a
100%.
far better song. And that's not high art either.
What's the story behind that song? That was an 84 hit, right?
Yep.
So
why does that exist at all?
Yeah.
Oh, this one's easy.
This is a good story.
Kennedy Gordy was the guy who billed himself as Rockwell. Barry Gordy is the president of Motown, so that's his dad. So
okay.
The guy who runs Motown, his son wants a hit. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to call a favor from Michael Jackson. The whole Jackson family used to be on Motown. They know each other pretty well. They left on good terms. They said, Michael, come on and sing on Somebody's Watching Me. So Michael said, okay. And what do you know? The thing hit number 2.
He did one line, right?
Yeah, he basically sung one line a couple times in the song.
And that was it.
And that was it.
Now,
that was his involvement.
Was there an issue where Michael was angry about that?
No.
Or so that was all.
No. It's you know, this is what favors are for. The Motown was very kind to the Jackson 5 way back when. Michael was happy to return the favor and more publicity. You couldn't escape Michael in '84.
So he was busy working with Paul McCartney, secretly planning on buying up all the Beatles music rights.
Yeah, and that's a shame.
That's a great story, isn't it? So doesn't the story go that Michael and Paul were talking, and Paul's like, "Yeah, you should get into buying music rights or publishing rights for music. It's great money." So what does Michael do? He turns around and buys
outbids Paul for the entire Beatles catalog, which is that's horrifying.
Yeah.
but Paul got outbid for his own songs, which is a terrible thing. And Michael and Paul were never really reconciled after that.
So when Michael was going through all of his money issues in the 2000s, or maybe it was late 90s, did he sold those rights again, right?
They got sold to Sony because he owed Sony, the record company, a lot of money. And they eventually found their way back to Paul.
Oh, they did. That's great.
Yeah, it's all kind of happy now.
Good.
For
There
what
we
it's
go.
worth.
So
when he performs those songs live for us, August 1st at Target Field, he'll be getting the publishing rights for it.
Because he needs the money.
he does. By the way, Jared, I'm going to need about $200 for you.
I was wondering what was going on.
That's called a closed circuit to Jared. Yes. So Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, Pepsi, the Victory Tour.
Oh, yeah, the Pepsi ads.
Yes, that was, I mean, even though Thriller was kind of fading.
Because it had sold 30-something million copies.
Yes.
Everybody had Thriller.
Did you have Thriller, Adam, growing up?
Yes. My mom had the vinyl of Thriller.
Yeah.
I have to say something about Thriller. That video scared the hell out of me. I was probably in 4th grade at the time, and it was a very big deal because they played it at MTV, and I watched MTV all the time. I was very early to music in general. Usually, it's junior high, high school where kids really start locking in their musical taste, but I was always entranced by it. But they would play it like on the hour, every hour, and it was a good 15, 20-minute video, and I would have to turn it because it would scare me so much. Looking back at it now, it's ridiculous. It's Vincent Price.
I probably only saw it once during that era.
Really?
Yeah.
It was.
Well, I didn't have
Did it
MTV.
scare
I
you
didn't
too?
have. I don't think so. I probably watched it middle of the day.
He saw it one time and never watched it again.
That's how
I was
bad
so
they did
frightened.
scare you.
So
Yeah.
frightened.
It was great.
Yeah.
The Michael Jackson videos were pretty terrific. And he knew that. He wanted to spend the whole budget on the Thriller video. And so the singles came and went. Human Nature was a single, did its time on the charts for 3 or 4 months and came and went with no video because they were busy making the one for Thriller. That would be the 7th single from the album.
So what I read was that back in the day, CBS only allowed their artists to do 2 videos per album.
Oh,
So
I didn't
you
know
had
that.
you had Billie Jean and Beat It, which I like Beat It better myself. But Thriller came along, and Michael wanted to do a big video for that. CBS was really sort of funky about it, and I think that what ended up happening is MTV helped bankroll that video, and they never called it a video. It was just like a short film. So CBS got their way. They didn't do 3 videos for an album, which is.
They just didn't want to pay for it? Is that why they had the policy?
Their policy was we don't do 3 videos per album.
Even though it's Michael Jackson. And
Doesn't matter.
We can write checks on him.
Probably some 60-year-old, 70-year-old guy who's making these decisions that this is how we did it. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to drive the business the way we want to drive it.
Well, then, because next time Streisand comes in with her need for 3 videos.
Oh, jeez.
Streisand busts in with
Yeah,
Vincent
she's
Price
always
videos.
riding Michael Jackson's coattails.
Ron, you got to find out what Streisand song that is and dedicate an entire hour of crap from the past to it.
So there was I have a homework now. So seriously, there was a Streisand video that got lumped in with CBS's demands
to play Billie Jean. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, the Thriller ended up being bankrolled partially by MTV. So I think CBS didn't even really pay for it. And I think Showtime might have actually gotten in on the action as well, because they were an up-and-coming network. HBO was playing music videos in between movies. That was a big deal. And so, I mean, music videos were everywhere. I mean, it's unbelievable. You think about that now where, it was such a big deal to be able to see the artists in some sort of natural setting. I don't even know if it's natural, but to see them somewhere that wasn't in a teeny bopper magazine or on the front of an album cover. So it was huge. It was everywhere.
Yeah, the visual aspect is it was novel at the time and not fully embraced by the artists until they realized, oh, this can sell a lot of records.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a Joe Jackson quote, the guy who did Steppin' Out and Breaking Us in Two. That he didn't want to do videos. Well, I mean,
look at him. I mean,
yeah, exactly. He said, "Well, if I could dance like Michael Jackson, I would do videos,
yeah.
but I don't want to do videos." And people eventually came around.
Yeah.
After that, I mean, once they realized, like, oh, people can see you.
Yeah.
Then a lot of photogenic artists got signed, and people got signed and played on the air from the strength of the videos. Those Duran Duran videos, I cannot emphasize enough how influential those Duran Duran videos were in getting the band popular.
If you compare the look of a Duran Duran video to a number of other videos that were made at the time, it's night and day. And even now you look at even Rio or Hungry Like the Wolf, which are, I mean, they're little cinematic pieces, but I mean, they're cheesy when you see them. But back in those days when you had, idiots from 38 Special dancing in front of a blue screen. You know, these guys look like, you know, your drunk uncle from your older cousin's graduation up there, you know, hacking away on the guitar. It's a completely different situation. But the cool thing about music videos at the time, though, was that you could have guys like that be successful. Image wasn't everything. It was more of just having an image up there was enough. Now, that changed quickly, and some might say that, you know, 83, 84 was that time period when things started to shift more towards the handsome people, with the exception of Phil Collins, of course.
He got by.
Sometimes talent wins out.
I know it seems ridiculous, but Phil Collins was cool right up until Sussudio.
He was.
He was cool.
Yeah.
Genesis and Phil Collins always had some kind of product on the shelves for the Christmas season.
Yes.
All throughout this, basically late 70s up through the mid 80s. But people sort of turned on him for Sussudio, understandably.
Oh.
Well, when you compare him against the Land of Illusion version of him, he's a much more attractive person than that ugly puppet. So it's like, you know, it's like why you hang out with ugly people. Like, oh, you look much better.
It's a fair point.
That really cleared it up for us. So let's talk
Summer 1984, guys.
Okay, now
after the break.
The preamble. Okay, part show with the two.
Can I set the scene?
Please set the scene.
I'm going to
Ron.
set the scene in as much detail as I can remember.
Okay, I love it.
Because I was almost 16.
So you would know better than any of us.
I remember, you always remember the summers when you're 15 and 16, and I happen to remember that summer particularly well. So in my little world, I'd been collecting 45s for a bunch of years, and 83 was big, as you know. I was into pop music well before that, and this was just great that the rest of the world caught up to me. So in New York City in particular, I grew up in a suburb of New York, so New York City radio was especially exciting because WPLJ, an album rock station, appropriately enough, flipped to pure top 40 in the summer of 83. And about a month later, Z100 signed on the air. They were this sleepy little nothing station.
Sure.
A company bought them, blew out whatever format was there, and started Z100, hot rockin', flamethrowing Z100. Here in town, we had WLOL, which was going full steam by the summer of 84.
Were they beating KDWB at that time?
They were beating the pulp out of them.
Okay.
Yeah, they were at truly the top of their game. And it just caught up with New York. So suddenly New York had 2 top 40 radio stations duking it out very publicly, and it was the listeners were the beneficiaries of all that. So that all happened in the summer of 83. So by the time summer of 84 rolled around, all the kids were listening to radio, FM radio, which had not been the case a year earlier. There were some AM stations left over from the AM heyday, but now everybody was listening to what was going on in the FM world. It's top 40.
So would you say like critical mass at this point of pop music?
Yep. In the summer of, summer of 84, I had just started being a counselor at Deer Mountain or one of the day camps.
Deer Kill Camp, we love it.
It was a day camp in the northern part of Rockland County, which is funny that it seems so distant to me. The whole county was like 10 miles big, and that's nothing. I think I drove farther here from my house to this podcast than the bus took me every day. But it seemed like the remote part of the county. We got bussed up there every day. I had my fellow counselors with us, and we had a bunch of little 5-year-old kids, and we did things like kickball and swimming and ice cream and all the things that you do in summer. But there was always a radio on, little boom boxes. Actually, big boom boxes.
Oh, yeah, there's not a lot of little boom boxes.
If you see the Rodney Dangerfield album cover for Rappin' Rodney has this gigantic boom box, my friend John had that very Panasonic boom box.
I always think of LL Cool J's first album. He's got a big old boombox on the
Can't
cover
live
of that.
without my radio, and that's how it was. Most of it playing the top 40 stations at the time.
Yes.
They had a rhythmic bent to them so that dancey songs or hip-hop songs sounded great coming out of these boombox speakers.
Like the early beats right there. You know, heavy bass beats headphones, Jared.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What was that?
Before Apple ruined them.
If you had the cricket sound effect, that would have been a perfect time.
Wow.
I
I still have it over here. Nope, that's not it. That's the wrong one.
We're done.
That is not it.
Sorry, Ron.
where was I?
Wrong
Oh, yeah.
right.
Crickets. So,
Big old boombox.
big old
Rodney
boombox.
Dangerfield.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Rapping Rodney.
There was a store in town in the New York suburbs area called Crazy Eddie. There was later one called The Wiz. Nobody Beats The Wiz, which became a Seinfeld subplot because this guy was The Wiz, which is ridiculous. But they're Crazy Eddie. His prices are insane. And he would actually look at the camera and it would be like this.
He was in movies from time to time, was he not?
The Crazy Eddie guy?
Crazy Eddie, yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I'm familiar with that Like, who knows, maybe Ghostbusters or something.
So I used to go there a lot.
Yeah.
45 buying kid that I was. And one day I come in, the guy says, here, come over here, listen to this.
Okay.
And it's their first CD player, the first one they had, and one of the early CDs. And he puts in a copy of Chicago 17, which starts off with Stay the Night.
Sure.
The album starts off with a snare drum. That's Danny Seraphin playing the snare drum. Can you find the clip of Stay the Night by Chicago? It's there. I will just play the first couple seconds.
In your folder.
Yeah. You'll have to imagine this coming out of these big speakers because it's Crazy Eddie. They put this in the biggest system they had.
Oh, it's a FLAC file. I'm not sure if I can play that.
Uh-oh.
Maybe.
Okay.
Looks like Audition. I'll play it. Hold on a second. It's
Okay.
got to load.
Oh,
By the way, Chicago, another example of a band that was around for a long time. Not the greatest looking band. I mean, you had Peter Cetera as a decent front man, but I mean, there's just guys that happen to maybe get away with the power of their name, and that they were pretty good musicians.
They were pretty good
So
musicians. They adapted to the times,
Yep.
and they recorded a whole bunch of syrupy ballads and stuff
But
in the 80s.
They went on for quite a while, though, didn't they? Almost to 90, they were having hits.
They had hits, up until around 1990. Okay, that's all you need to play. It's that the point was
Like a Ron gives us sleep.
That's it. That's it. And cut.
And cut it.
Up until then, all the music that we'd ever experienced was either through FM, which had its own set of noise, and you recorded it on a cassette with the wow and the flutter, or maybe the pitch was wrong, or on a scratchy 45 where you had ticks and pops and your 45s would wear out, or maybe you taped your 45s onto these cassettes that would themselves get worn out. To hear that snare drum with nothing behind it, no surface noise, no ticks, no pops, was utterly spellbinding and revolutionary for my little 15-year-old ears. The CD player was about $1,000.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford that. But oh my God, I knew at some point I'm going to have one of these. I'm going to have a lot of CDs. You can see your own future.
At 15 years old.
It's pivotal. So that I'm pretty sure that was around the summer of '84 because Stay the Night was on the charts and Chicago 17 was on CD at the time. And so we dove headlong into the summer. Dancing in the Dark by Bruce Springsteen came out at the very beginning of summer. And just...
The chair is on it.
You are on it.
Look at him. He casually takes a drink like a pro.
Nice. Okay, you can cut that so you don't have to pay the royalties on it. So it was big, and it was designed to sound great on the air. Bruce Springsteen, well aware of the trend of videos for artists and stuff, and not a big fan of his own face. So in visual image style, he put a picture of his butt on the board in the USA album. Here, take a look at that. And wildly effective. And
I was confused at 10 years old.
That didn't make any sense.
At least there's a cap.
I
can relate to the
but
cap.
he was aware of the impact that the video would have, and so they show him pulling a very young Courtney Cox from the audience and dancing up on stage. And yes, that was staged. She knew she would be called on.
We love that video here in Minnesota because that was filmed in Minnesota. That video.
It was awesome.
My wife, who is closer to age with you than me, was at that particular, not that show, but one of the shows where he filmed that.
That is great. I like that.
Out right by the Mall of America, Met Center.
Oh, sweet. Now,
There
a
you
bit
go.
of trivia that
There we
I
go.
didn't know
There's
that.
also a Aerosmith video that was shot here, but nobody cares about that one.
And Black Cat was shot here as well with Janet Jackson.
Oh, with
Oh boy.
I like Black Cat's a fine song.
This is amazing. Minnesotans
Lots of
are
cheesy Prince videos.
Minnesotans are so funny. Like we
Guys, the thing happened here.
That
they're part of us. They're part of
That
us.
Mary Tyler Moore house.
Jingle
I
All
know
the
where
Way.
that is.
That was filmed
Got
here.
the jingle all the way. Yeah.
Gotta get the Turbo Man.
It's not the Tuma.
Do you guys know what videos were filmed in DC?
Not a one.
Yeah, I don't know either because there's too many things happening there.
Too many things.
Get out of here, you jerk.
Where was I? Oh yes. So Springsteen set the tone.
Yes.
And basically people knew, oh my God, this is huge. And since he's from New Jersey, in New York you couldn't escape it.
Sure.
They released a bunch of 12-inch singles from the Born in the USA album that Bruce disowned. They're dreadful. Have you ever heard the 12-inch singles?
No.
I'm going to ask you if you can. There are 3 12-inch single versions on the thingy that I gave
Which
you
one
over
do you
there.
want?
Let's do Born in the USA. Dancing in the Dark first, and then we'll do Cover Me, and then Born in the USA.
I have numbers. I don't know if I have. Do I have names?
They should have. They should both all start with B.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hold on. I have them loaded into my player. The names are really.
Oh,
long.
just you can
There we
play
go.
'em.
Which one would you want first?
Oh, whichever plays.
This one. Sure.
Yeah. This actually
like
got
it.
some airplay, and they pumped up the drums for this. I think they called in Arthur Baker to do the remixes for this. And so to a 15, 16-year-old kid, it just sounded like a bigger version of the song.
Sure.
But this is serious blasphemy.
Yeah,
It's
I think-
crapping all over Bruce's song, and Bruce hated this to the
Yeah.
point where this is not going to be released on CD. Let's and Cover Me was even worse. So we'll see if that one plays. And Born in the USA, yeah.
It's like Duran Duran got a hold of this there. Union of the
What?
Snake.
Why would Bruce Springsteen be upset about this?
Exactly.
He's punching someone in the face.
I can't believe what you did to my song,
Wow.
and Born in the USA is even worse.
I want to salute.
If you do, then you don't understand the song. It just bothers me to this day that the
Yeah.
song is always used as a patriotic song. If you think it's patriotic, you don't understand this song. Still.
All these politicians co-opting it for their campaign trail.
Yeah.
Quite the lead-in.
The thing's like 7 minutes
Traffic
long.
on the 405, guys. You
This is
want to
gotta-
avoid that.
this ought to be
Looks
part
like
of our-
73 degrees and sunny.
We need this song for Hit the Post, Jared. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, God, this just goes on and on.
Thanks for making WSCP your weekend radio station, folks. Make sure you go to Wienerfest. I hear it's popular.
You love the Wiener Fest.
Rain, high of 66.
Give it a lock, WSCP. Check out. Oh my God, there's more.
No, don't. Okay, just make it go away. So, point being, there were ways to cash in. The record companies knew it. Shoot expensive videos, release 12-inch singles because we kids would buy them.
Yeah.
And they might even get some club play, much to the dismay of artists with integrity like Bruce Springsteen, who seriously had integrity at the
Who's
time.
playing that at the club?
Nobody was playing that at the club.
Could they get away with that now with Bruce Springsteen, where they're just going to behind his back?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think.
I want to hear a dance remix of that one.
Ugh. So, in the middle of all that, just about a month later, after Born in the USA came out, When Doves Cry hit the airwaves. And
My favorite Prince song ever.
Jared, are you
It's-
okay over there?
Yeah.
This song is astonishing on so many levels.
Give us one level.
There's no bass line.
Yep.
He recorded it with a bass line
Yeah.
and played around with it and decided it didn't work and just took out the bass line. And you're left with this. No song has ever sounded like this before or since. It's just brilliant. I can't say enough good things about it. The fact that it's 30 years old now and sounds as fresh and weird as it did in 1984.
Just don't
Okay.
watch the video. Video not as good.
That's
a lot
okay.
of lot of movie footage from there. So let me ask you a question about Prince. Obviously, you've lived here long enough now that you know that people here in Minnesota love him. I mean,
He's Prince.
it's beyond anything. But what was his reputation in New York City, for instance?
Oh, in New York City. I Want to Be Your Lover was a hit in 79. And that's all we heard about Prince until Little Red Corvette.
Yeah.
They tried 1999 as a single in 1982 and it didn't work. They released Little Red Corvette and that turned out to be a big old hit, and then they released 1999, so it was a
Yeah.
big old hit. And so we knew who Prince was, but we were not prepared for When Doves Cry.
Yeah.
When that hit, that was bigger than anything we'd seen before. It was on par with the Michael Jackson mania.
Sure.
Purple Rain was so big. It was as big as Thriller in New York City.
Yeah.
And here it would have been even bigger
Yeah.
because Prince is a local boy. Local boy done really, really, really good. But
Who
it was
never,
just
and
as
he
big.
never moved away. I mean, he sort of stuck around, so people were always very excited about the fact that, hey, you could see Prince. He'd pop up. You could go see him.
Yeah.
He filmed it here. It's
Sometimes
it-
you'd see him at the Red Owl shopping or superstore.
yeah.
Yeah.
You ever
And,
shop at Red Owl?
I did shop at Red Owl.
Yeah, I miss Red Owl. The supermarket of my childhood.
aw.
Anyway.
But that's what New York sounded like.
Yeah.
New York had this, at that, and it clicked in England too.
Sure.
England, everybody was blown away by Purple Rain. It was that good. And granted, you were only 4 or 5 at the time.
He's just
why
sitting
Adam
over there
doesn't have
so
much to say.
quiet.
I asked my wife was also born in 79, so I was asking her, are you aware of how big Purple Rain was? Because she likes Prince and all, but she didn't
Yeah.
think Prince was Prince. She didn't get Prince with
Yeah.
both hands in the
Yeah.
air. Prince, for God's sake. I had to explain, no, this was really, really, really big. That little purple weird man, that whole image was perfectly crafted. The movie's not so good, but the concert footage is
Yeah.
astounding. And it was all shot right here at First Avenue, as everybody knows.
Was Prince ever any bigger than what he was with Purple Rain? I mean, he had hits, obviously, and he did well with Kiss, but I mean, even the follow up Around the World in a Day or whatever only had Raspberry Beret really as anything that caught on. Was he ever?
I'd say that there are very few artists that reach the level that Prince did for the Purple Rain tour. There's Michael Jackson for Thriller, and there's Prince for Purple Rain. And I can't think of any other artist that achieved total world domination like he did.
Yeah.
In my lifetime. I'm sure the Beatles did, and I'm sure there were the Bee Gees in the 70s, or ABBA maybe. Sure. But the stuff I experienced firsthand, this was as big as anything, and probably as big as anything since. New Kids on the Block had Mania, but it was just Mania. There was no music behind it. Here, everybody recognized, oh my God, this little purple genius can play guitar. And the music, it was the whole package.
Compare Prince and Michael Jackson from an artist standpoint. I mean, if you think about Michael Jackson, he was humongous with Thriller. But then you have Prince who brings in this sort of dirty, maybe more of a musician-based album. Can you compare these two fairly?
That's a really good question. I'd say that Michael Jackson had Quincy Jones in his corner, and Quincy Jones was responsible for the genius. Michael, he could sing and dance like nobody's business, but it took Quincy Jones to shape it into a product that was as good as it was. So Off the Wall was utter genius. Thriller, on par with Off the Wall, for the most part.
Yeah.
And Bad, which was many years later, I didn't like Bad as much. And after that, the Michael Jackson stuff is forgettable, which is, it's a shame, but it's
Sorry, Adam, the stuff that was forgettable.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The black and white album, get out of here.
When he morphed with Macaulay Culkin, brilliant.
I like the one song. I like the guitar line from Black and White's kind of good. And the rest of the album's terrible. Nobody wants to admit that because, blasphemy, you're insulting Michael Jackson. Nope, his stuff was pretty bad throughout the 90s. So, Off the Wall and Thriller, if you're going to make a career, you bank it on those two albums.
Don't you think that Thriller maybe sounds a little too much like the sort of the disco pop before that, whereas you get to Purple Rain and it just sounds like something you've never heard before? I mean, there are shades of 1999 in it with the drum machine that Prince uses, everybody knows. But to me, it sounds like something completely different. Whereas Michael is more inspired by the past.
A little bit.
In Thriller. Not all the way. Not all the time.
Nothing had sounded quite like Billie Jean.
Yeah.
Nothing had quite sounded like Beat It. Although, for Beat It, I think somebody put the bug in his head, write a song that sounds like My Sharona.
Oh, sure.
And that's how he came up with Beat It and the whole sound of Beat It. Purple Rain came out. The intro to When Doves Cry sounds like it was beamed in from outer space. There has been nothing like that. And it was completely revolutionary, appropriately enough, because the band was called The Revolution. But Let's Go Crazy, the fact that Let's Go Crazy was a hit, you try and think about another song that sounds as weird and foreign as Let's Go Crazy.
This weird echo chamber introduction.
Yeah,
where
Dearly Beloved. It's wonderful. It's great. And as a 15-year-old, it was magic.
Yeah.
And that's what the summer of '84 sounded like. It was that. And then everybody else sort of tangentially around them. Cyndi Lauper and Huey Lewis and the News, and a lot of that stuff was popular here. The Cars were doing pretty well. Van Halen was doing pretty well.
But you also have the appearance of one other artist that summer, Madonna, who breaks big. You're probably going to get to that too. But, I mean, talk about another big artist who has had a long career that sort of broke big in '84. She's one of them right there.
She did. The first Madonna album came out in 82 actually, and tried releasing singles, and they got successively more and more successful. Borderline was kind of the one that put her on the map. It was fine. Lucky Star was a slightly bigger hit. It was fine. You couldn't hear the genius in '84. It was a competent pop album, on par with the album that was put out by Shannon at the same time with Let the Music Play.
Sure.
You wouldn't have known one from the other at the time. It'll do nicely in clubs.
And she was a club kid, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, so her earlier stuff with, what was it, Holiday? And
which
I mean, it just sounds like, like something you'd go dance to, but it wasn't.
That's exactly
wasn't remarkable.
It wasn't remarkable. Like a Virgin was getting there, and that was after the summer. That was the end of '84.
She broke that with the MTV Video Awards when she performed it the first time. Classic moment, and that's when her career.
And then it took off.
Kick-started. But I mean, people were knowing who she was that summer.
She was an artist.
Yeah.
Just one of many. For me, the exciting stuff was coming out of England. the Springsteen and Prince was big, but you want to have the cool cutting edge stuff. And we have friends in the record store saying, "Oh, you need to buy this. Oh, you need to buy this." And New Wave was mainstream by this time in '84. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Duran Duran, Thompson Twins, Howard Jones, I scribbled down Style Council, and Nick Kershaw, the guy who did "Wouldn't It Be Good," which is a personal favorite of mine.
Ditto.
It's
a good song, Adam.
Wonderful pop stuff coming out of England. Some of it would find its way onto the American pop charts. A lot of it would find its way onto MTV. And maybe would disappear later, like A Flock of Seagulls with the guy with the weird haircut. And you know he has the weird haircut because of that video. Talk would come and go. They would be much bigger overseas than they were here. But it was great. It was exciting. And even the record companies wised up to the point where they were giving the collectors something to collect. Like the other side, the B-side of Dancing in the Dark was a song called Pink Cadillac for Bruce Springsteen. It wasn't on the album. You had to go out and buy the 45. And if you bought the 45...
No, I lost sound playback for a little bit. I was trying to figure out what happened, so I got it figured out now.
All right, good. He's giving himself a thumbs up ding. I did it. Ding.
Well, I was trying to play something innocuous.
Hooray for me.
I could have played this, but
Sorry.
So there was a couple of tracks I wanted to play during your little. I would have been on top of it.
I knew
I had
you were,
no
I knew you
sound
were
playback though. Go ahead.
That's okay.
We'll get you to play Duran Duran song in a second.
So Prince had the B-side of Let's Go Crazy was a song called Erotic City. Did great in the clubs in New York. There were actually a bunch of cleaned up versions that found their way onto the air. And I remember specifically how they were edited to get a song like Erotic City on the air. But it got airplay in New York City. It was probably considered a hit at the time. All these songs on the B-sides of the 45, encouraging kids like me to go out and buy them. It was great. So 45s had picture sleeves, a whole lot of picture sleeves in the mid-'80s because of the visual component. So if you bought... I know that opening sound. And you know that if you're a DJ, like, oh no, I got 20 seconds to deal with this before he starts swearing and I have to do something. So there's a feeling of joy that goes along with this and of dread, knowing you're going to have to do something if you haven't edited down Erotic City.
Yeah.
But it was
I played the clean one.
That's okay. It was great. So, I mean, even the picture sleeves, like if you bought Footloose by Kenny Loggins, the picture sleeve had sort of a layout, a little photo collage from the movie. You had this visual aspect, and the record companies wised up to it.
Sure.
It was great.
Could you get the same thing on a single?
No cassette singles. There was one, I think it was We Got the Beat or Our Lips Are Sealed by the Go-Go's in 81 or 82. And then they called it a casingle. Then the casingles disappeared until around 88.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, a box full of casingles from 88 onward until I got CDs.
Yeah, and that was the single format of choice for like a month.
Sure.
Horrible, terrible things.
I bought a lot of them.
Yeah.
Jared into the worst trends ever in the history of music.
Got a lot of Paula Abdul. Probably got some Fine Young Cannibals in there.
Yeah. So that sets the time frame. That would have been the 88 to 89.
Probably a 38 Special comeback song there.
Oh, Second Chance.
Yeah.
Oh, so
pretty sure I have that on cassette single.
Not so good.
And then he went out and bought a lot of Pogs after that to really capitalize.
Pogs didn't happen until the early 90s. Come on.
Can you, there's a song I put on there by Nucleus called Jam On It, which was not a national hit, but was huge in New York. So,
yep, I know this one.
Okay.
Was this played here on any stations, Jared? Do you know?
Probably not.
I've heard this song
not that
before.
I know of, but yeah.
It had the silly little voice. Come on, get to it. I just want to let the beats kick in so you hear what this was all about. There we go. This is what New York sounded like. This sounded so great.
He's talking about Wikipedia right there.
There is a parody about being on Wikipedia.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Wiki, very nice.
You can find that at the Fump, thefump.com.
Yeah. So that
Ron loves it.
That's great. I didn't stop
It's a little inside.
Stop me dead in my tracks.
A little inside baseball there.
All right
I'm
then.
gonna find it for you. Go. Keep going.
So anyway, that was a big local New York hit
Sure.
at the time when you still could have local hits. It was just exciting. It was very exciting, and it was geared towards youth, towards teens, and not talking down to us. A lot of it musically has held up really well. Like Purple Rain has held up really well.
You think I'm kidding?
Sounds very similar.
I'm really impressed.
We can play this song all the way through too.
Yeah, although it may match the YouTube algorithm. Who knows? All right. There's a whole bunch of stuff there.
That's really silly.
So the artist on that one is Sudden Death, who is currently performing under the name Debo Spice. So if you want to look that up, or go to thefump.com. It's right there.
That's really funny.
Released in 2007.
So that's pretty much where I was. It was a good time to be a kid growing up in New York City. I'm glad I was sort of around for it. Because secondhand, like being born in 1980, you can't really appreciate. Like younger folks can't really appreciate how big the Beatles were. I know they were really big. I get it.
Yeah.
They were huge, but I can't attest to it firsthand.
Adam doesn't like the Beatles either, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I think.
Who is your favorite? What kind of stuff do you listen to?
Snow.
He means static, just like actual static.
I was thinking Informer.
That's what I was like.
That's where I was going.
Who do you like, Adam?
I don't know.
What's the oldest artist that you like? If you go back,
What do you mean oldest?
historically, like I mean, we know you like all sorts of modern new stuff, which is great because I do too. But what's the artist or band of your youth?
That I like remember.
Yeah, that you remember
my
like
dad,
you obsessed about.
I don't like him, but can you guys explain to me why my dad bought me a Joe Satriani album?
What?
The celebrity whom I most resemble. It is. He was great.
I remember being 8.
Did you have Surfing with the Alien?
No, it was.
Oh, that's too bad.
That had Silver Surfer.
Was it blue?
It was blue.
The blue one was okay.
Okay.
Kind of overblown.
Well, he got me that and Slippery When Wet, at the same time. And obviously, I listened to Bon Jovi though.
That's why Carrie likes you. She loves that Bon Jovi.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have. I'm not. All I was gonna say was, I think those global trends are harder to do now, and it's been harder since any time in the past, just because everything's more not centralized. Everything's more fragmented,
compartments.
Right? Like people, like, oh, I like this, so now I can just listen to that. I don't need to listen to what everyone else is listening to. So we're never going to get to that again anyway.
That seeps into a question I did have, which was in '84. I mean, you could find Michael Jackson, Tina Turner, Van Halen, Rats. I mean, all these artists could be heard on a top 40 radio station.
Yep.
Nowadays, you're never going to get that, right?
No, and that's been gone for a while.
Yeah, I mean, and that probably happened, late '80s, where you started getting pieces where things sort of shoot off. You get your heavy metal station.
It's closer to mid '90s.
Okay, well, I was very close.
No,
only 10 years off.
It stuck around. It stuck around a surprising amount where
Yeah.
you could get hard rock songs bumped up against Celine Dion ballads.
Sure.
All throughout the '90s, you'd turn the station.
Yeah.
But they lived side by side, and once sort of the internet took off, sort of mid to late '90s,
Okay.
and you had other outlets besides AM/FM, you could do this thing over the internet. Wow!
Yeah,
And then there was no looking back and no going back after that, and then you got the pigeonholed stations and pigeonholed formats as specific as you wanted, for better or for worse. But now you don't have to sit through songs that don't sound like the last song you heard. They all sound exactly the same. For consultants think that's a good thing.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
I say it's probably not for good. And it's too bad, because if you listen to top 40 stations at the time, in the early 80s, you'd occasionally have a country song lumped in with the others.
A lot of country music in the early 80s.
I Love
Eddie
a Rainy
Rabbitt,
Night
Crystal
by Eddie
Gale,
Rabbitt. Yeah.
Ronnie Millsap, one of Jared's all-time favorites.
No. That's it for part 1 of our discussion of the summer music of 1984. Make sure you tune into our next episode, where Ron and the entire gang will be back to talk about more summer music 1984. We'll be back after these messages.
We now join the scope, already in progress.
Under the scope.
Hey everybody, we're back with Under the Scope, and you know what that means.
Potty break?
And?
Oh. I don't know.
Yes, and.
What does it mean?
Yes, and coming soon.
Improv everywhere, guys.
That's the right one.
We are on fire today, guys.
We're
we are
punchy.
on fire.
What is it? Coming soon?
Coming soon.
So I'm new to the show, guys. I'm still trying to figure it out.
After 177 episodes, Jared's still hitting random buttons.
That's
Adam,
how I
They're
do
different
my
random
job every
buttons,
day.
we're heading into summer, Adam.
Uh-huh.
Do things get released in summer? I don't even know.
Well, I thought they did, but no.
Let's take a look.
But
There's
no.
nothing.
Let's take a look and see
All
what we
right.
have.
So we've got some music coming out this week. We've got a new album from Kasabian, who I really liked, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. and
I didn't
haven't
even like him
listened to
6-7
some-
years
okay.
ago. Next. I don't know what that is.
It's a
I like to touch.
rock electronic band
Yeah.
type thing.
Okay.
Jack White has an album coming
I've been
out.
playing a lot of him on satellite radio.
Jack White, who we talked about in the news last week.
How did they get
still
him in space?
reeling from?
He's our real life Willy Wonka.
All right.
Good
You
to
guys,
know.
how do you guys feel about jam bands? You love them?
Hate
Great.
'em.
I'm not a big fan.
OAR, they have an album coming out.
Nope.
And I refuse to accept that. And DJ Tiesto also has an album coming
yeah.
out. Tiesto.
Yep.
Tiesto.
You can isolate those, Jared. Yep.
Movies.
Everyone be quiet.
We've got a movie coming out.
Yep.
We got How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Saw it.
You did.
I did see
Review
it.
has already been out.
What did you think?
I loved it. It was one of my favorite movies of the summer. I say that unapologetically.
The first one was great.
This is better than the first one.
Is it by the
It's
same guys?
better-
The
yes.
Lego movie guys again?
It must be because it's
They're
really
on
good.
fire, those guys.
They're good.
They're the 21 Jump Street guys.
They're the 22 Jump Streets of the 21
I don't
Jump
know.
Street
I
universe.
don't know if they're in that one. Anyway, we'll talk more about that movie in a minute. DVD and Blu-ray. We've got Jack Ryan, Shadow Recruit.
Nope.
It was not.
Did you see it, Jared?
We both saw it, Shane. We did a review of it.
Did I see Jack Ryan?
Yes, we
Shadow
saw it in
Recruit?
January.
Oh, that's right.
we
I
did not
see
like.
it.
We did not think much of it.
And
Nope,
I don't
not a
think you
fan.
guys saw this. Nonstop.
Who's in that?
That's the
That's-
Liam Neeson
yeah, I was gonna say,
on a plane.
On a plane.
It's Taken on a Plane.
I love Liam Neeson.
I
love
get that. I
Taken.
get that in 3 Days to Kill or whatever.
Yes.
Confused. They came out
Kevin
around the same
Costner.
time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Finally, we've got
Nonstop has Lupita Nyong'o in it
Lupita from
from 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah. 12 Monkeys. That's good
Also
one.
from my
12 monkeys.
also
yeah, she
from
was 1
my-
years old in it.
my championship run on Oscar picks for the scope.
Get out of here. Turn his mic off.
Will
Will he turn his own mic off?
You won't,
He did it.
You won't even look at him when you say turn off his mic.
Disgusting.
He knows I have ultimate power.
All right, and finally, one video game comes out. It's called Enemy Front. It's from Stuart Black, who created the video game Black.
I love his ranting on the Daily Show.
Okay, only one guy with the last name Black. You've combined Jon Stewart and
Lewis Black?
Lewis Black. Thank you.
Perfect. That's a perfect talk show host.
Anyway, it's a shooter, World War II.
Sounds
All
great.
right.
Gun porn is used in the description.
Sexy. Is that it, Adam?
Well, there's one more thing to talk about with coming soon.
I was gonna add it in last night, and I just was too tired. It's all right. Look out!
Yes, indeed. Hit it or miss it. This is our chance to tell you, the listeners, the viewers,
Yes.
what you should either avoid or absolutely check out this week. And who gets to run it this time?
Jared.
This guy here,
Gerard.
I'm picking a hit, and that hit is going to be the sequel to 21 Jump Street.
Yes.
It's called 22 Jump Street.
Yes.
Did you see how they did that? They incremented it up.
Yep. They
just
even
going.
make fun of that
Move
in the
across the
trailer,
street.
don't they?
This movie, I really enjoyed the first film. I didn't expect to, but it was very surprising and very funny. This one looks to be more of the same. It's also very, very self-aware that it's a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Trailers look super, super funny.
Sequels are always funnier too, by the way. Everyone knows that.
We do know that. I think this is going to be a winner. So I recommend you the theatrical release 22 Jump Street opening this Friday. Go check it out.
Perfect. Nailed it.
Stuck the landing.
That's like the best. We don't even ever need
Under
to.
the scope.
Done. Turn it
We
off.
don't need to do any more podcasts.
Adam, what are you doing?
Adam's out. Jared, before we lose Adam for the rest of the recording session, please tell us if we have any listener.
It's called a sesh.
We have
Commentary.
a voicemail.
Oh, God, I cannot wait.
This is the second in a series. If you heard it in our last episode, Keith from Minnesota,
Yeah.
Keith David.
St. Cloud area, I believe, called in.
Yes.
With
Keith
the
from
comments.
Voltron?
I have his second voicemail here, where he talks about some more favorite moments from the past 8 years of the scope.
It's a 3-second email or voicemail.
No, it's actually about a minute to almost 2 minutes. Here we go. I think you guys will like it. You
Okay.
should sit back and enjoy.
We'll.
Here we go.
Hey there, this is Keith from Minnesota. Since Shane did such a great job begging and claiming that voicemails were deleted somehow, I decided I'll call back in and
It worked. Your ploy worked.
share some more of my favorite moments. I would like to say that since I'm a resident here of Minnesota, I do very much appreciate the football talk.
Of course he does.
Mostly because it's primarily about the Vikings, and that's the team I follow.
In your face, Adam.
I do enjoy that quite a bit. I also kind of got into the Scope Trivia Challenge. I think you've done at least one, if not 2 rounds of that. And the last time there was almost like a promise to do another round. And I participate in some trivia up in St. Cloud, a big trivia challenge they have up here. And we were trying to get a team together, and I thought I had a team set, and never came through. I guess you guys never had the next round of trivia challenge.
It's true, we didn't.
I have a lot of questions
written. The thing I wanted to discuss was Shane is just great at telling stories. I've always appreciated the storytelling ability.
Adam.
Not that
Wake up.
Jared and Adam don't have that as well.
No,
I truly
they don't.
enjoy Adam's stories, but Shane once told a story about his high school reunion, and I remember commenting as Shane mentioned there may have been a minor celebrity that he graduated with, or someone who had an affair with the celebrity or something, and I commented once, and Shane promised to follow up or maybe tell me specifically as who it was, and I never heard back. That was probably 2 years ago at this point.
Come on.
Anyways,
way to follow through.
I gotta go listen to that story because I don't even remember
all
now.
the work and effort you guys put in.
Liar.
Keep up the great work.
Okay, so I think the celebrity, for the record, is Kelly Pickler.
Okay, and how was she related to your thing now?
She is married to somebody I graduated with.
Really?
Who ended up being a big country music star, country music producer. I didn't know the guy. I didn't know he was into music, but I guess he moved to Nashville, became a producer, and eventually married Kelly Pickler.
That's interesting.
There you go.
There you go.
And she'll be on the show next week.
Oh, amazing.
What a get.
Well, if you've got questions for Kelly Pickler, make sure you write in at comments@thescopeshow.com or call the voicemail line as demonstrated by Keith from Minnesota, 612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
You can tweet at us, too.
You can also tweet at us. You can follow us on Facebook. We're on Tumblr and on YouTube. Maybe you're watching us on YouTube right now. All those links are at thescopeshow.com.
Click here.
I'm not doing that. Not anymore.
It's over here.
It's done.
Up there?
You guys just look like jackasses.
Down there.
I don't know.
Click on this.
Adam's like, throw me the ball. I'm open. Guys, if you like what we're doing and you want to support us financially.
You got what I call a dynamite sound.
Yeah.
Guys. But I
gotta
gotta
have more cowbell.
I'm just like you, but I put on my pants one leg at a time.
If you think this show needs more cowbell, then by all means, support us financially so that we can buy a cowbell.
Yeah.
And you can do that by supporting us at patreon.com/thescopeshow. It is the forum where people can become patrons of the arts. They can support people who make content. You can support us for as little as $1 an episode. You can put a monthly cap on that. You can cancel anytime. It's the thing to do if you like what we do. Patreon.
Thank you. He's looking into the camera. He means business.
That's all I got.
All right. So, guys, quick shout out to Ron Gerber for part 1 of our summer music of '84
Ron Boogie Monster Gerber.
retrospective. He will be back next episode with part 2. I want to thank Jared for doing what he does, and I want to thank Adam for mostly keeping quiet.
That's what I do.
It's a great part of the show. It's just your presence here is enough.
It's true. It's very true.
Thank you.
So we'll
No
be
one's
back.
ever said that.
Let's wrap it up, Jared. We'll be back with 178 in just a week. So for everybody here, thanks for listening. More Scope coming at you soon. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. Days shall pass as if they were but a moment. And Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying farewell. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.